I'm speaking with Joe from Carsick this evening. Joe, how are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm really, really good. Thank you.
Sick, man.
Basically, I saw you guys about a week ago now supporting the Meths in Brighton. You were the
Yeah,
support band, and my
yeah.
friend Danny, who I was with, had seen you the night before in the Underworld in London. And he said, you definitely check out the support band Carsick. They were really, really good. So I was like, cool, yep, we'll do. And basically, yeah, saw you guys do what you do. Really, really liked your stuff. Um, Came and chatted to you briefly at the merch desk and said, "Look, let's have a chat." So we are talking now. So basically, Carsick, how old are you? Like, how long have you been together, and how did it all start?
So we have been a band now for about 2.5, 3 years, I think.
Cool.
Thereabout. And me and our drummer went to college together. He was a year below me. And then our bass player, Jack, went to the same college, but he was in the year below Tom.
Right.
So we sort of just missed each other in terms of the year we took the course. But I think after college, we were all in separate bands, which sort of fell apart.
Sure.
And then we just decided, oh fuck it, like we'll just get together and jam and see what comes out. And then it wasn't really ever supposed to be something serious. And then all of a sudden, it was sort of like, we got my brother in the fold, and it was sort of like accidentally happened. It was like we wrote a song and we were like, this is cool, and then we recorded it. But I don't think we were in. It sounds ridiculous, but I don't think we were intentionally like going in with it thinking, oh, we're just going to do this and
Yeah.
release like an EP. And then it sort of just happened, and then it's like all of a sudden the rug's pulled from underneath you, and you're like, oh, I guess we're a band.
Yeah. Yeah. We're actually doing it, sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean that's really cool. So basically, you've got an EP out at the moment. You've had an EP out for about what 2 years now, something like that, 2003.
Yeah, 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 about that.
And are you planning to do like a full length album? Is that something you want to get done sooner or
Yeah,
later?
yeah, I really want to. I think we're just sort of waiting for the right time. I think there's a few songs like we want to get out this year. I don't know whether it will be in an album in that
Yeah,
sort of format, but I think certainly within either this year or late this year or the year after, I can
sure.
definitely see us putting a record out. I think we're just waiting for the right songs and the right time.
Yeah.
I think just sort of waiting for a lot of things to line up. Um, but yeah, I
How
think we've definitely got material.
how important is it from your point of view of like releasing an album these days with how much the music industry has changed so much in the last like 10 years? Well, obviously the prevalence of streaming and all that sort of thing. Do you need an album? Because it's not like you're probably pushing hard copy anymore. I mean, yes, bands still
Yeah.
do vinyl and that sort of stuff, and you could do a vinyl, but do you is having an album out still important to you? Do you think it's necessary?
I think it's important to me to do. I don't know. Maybe I don't think albums are as important as they used to be in the sense that streaming massively, like, I think there's a lot of attention put into singles, which is great. But I think, an album is still important to me. And I think a lot of people, just as like a piece of like art that, flows
Yeah,
together well. There's like in the tracks, and we always put a lot of thought into that. And I think we've sort of had an idea for an album for a long time that we've wanted to do eventually. So I think in the sense of doing one piece of art that sort of tells a story throughout the songs and is
yeah,
like a project that's put together.
yeah. It's also a
That's something.
snapshot of the time and place where you were and all that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah. But I mean, I think we want to make sure we got the right songs to
Yeah,
support it. 'Cause I don't want people to get bored about halfway through and go, "Oh, this is shit."
sure, sure. I mean, what's it like? Obviously, you guys are quite a new band, and you're plugging away. You just finished a small UK show for another band who are relatively still quite a small band. Playing sort of the traditional grassroots kind of venues, maybe slightly bigger than that. But what's it like being a band today in 2025, but off the back of 24? just the vibe, the scene, if you like. Is it is it hard?
I think it's hard in the sense of I can only speak from my experience with it. I think
Of course.
the things that kind of I find that are shit the the traveling, and I think being in the same vicinity as the same like four people. I think any of the guys will say that like we really get on each other's nerves, but it's all
Sure.
part of it. I think like I saw a band called Pup about 5 or 6 years ago, and I think they worded it really well where they said it's the best job and the worst job in the world if you can do it full time.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, I think like you get to meet so many amazing people and you get to see so many great places. And I think being so involved in the scene is so great and it's so important to, you know, keep that alive and stuff. And it's so nice to see people going to gigs, and it's just such a great community. And I love that part of it. I think in terms of touring, it can just be like the grind of it can be quite tiring sometimes. There's only so much grapes that someone can eat. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
But,
yeah,
I love it. It's funny because like we'll do like a few days on the trot, and then we get home, and we're not even doing long tours at the moment, really. And then as soon as you get home, you're like, oh fuck, I'm so glad to be in my own bed, but I can't wait to go out again.
yeah,
I think we were so lucky to support such nice bands as well. Like the Meths are so lovely. They're just like
sure.
really down to earth, really nice, a proper laugh. You get into a lot of trouble. And the Luke Estate as well. We supported the Luke Estate around Europe and the UK, and again, just super nice guys. So yeah, we've only really had in terms of people we play with like really positive experiences so far.
I mean
Yeah,
that's the main thing. That's great. It's good that you haven't hated being in the same room as someone who, because they're being dicks or
yeah,
something,
yeah,
making
sure.
you feel that you should be grateful for sort of supporting for them and opening for them. Um, how would you describe what you sound like? Is there any sort of comparisons? Were you trying to sound like anyone when you kind of got together and started coming up with these songs? Did you have like a sound in your head, or was it literally it just came out like that?
I think this is really interesting because we all come from really different musical backgrounds. And I think in terms of like what I listen to is not actually always that similar to the sort of music I make.
Yeah,
I think that's partially because I don't want to subconsciously rip things off.
yeah,
At the same time, like, when we first started, I grew up listening to a lot of like indie and a lot of emo and but I think that the indie elements are massively in there. A lot of like Jamie T, a lot of the Streets, even in some elements, I think, in a lot of our new stuff, there's a little bit of like Strokes stuff in there. So just super. We're trying to do something that's kind of really familiar, but trying to make it new somehow. And I think in the new band scene, there's a lot of bands that sort of can play. I mean, it's so easy to just straight up rip off another band these days
yeah,
because so much is done. And I think we're just very cautious of doing that because I think there's a few of our tunes where I can point out parts where I go, oh, I see, I've listened to that and subconsciously written this around it. Which is why when I write now, I try not to listen to too much music.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I'm a fiend. There's going to be a lot of copyright strikes coming my way, I'm sure.
I mean, hey, look, that's what creating art is about, right? Well, that's what certainly music is about. You know, if you look at any early works of any bands, you know, early Guns N' Roses were ripping off Aerosmith. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, for
everyone's
sure.
been influenced by someone else. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
I think we're still very much finding our feet with our sound a little bit.
although
I've just
it's in,
realised I'm wearing a fucking Carsick hoodie. That's so bad.
you've got to promote it, man. You got to
Oh
do
yeah,
the.
they're available on the website now. They're not actually. I think they're sold out, but that is really bad.
That's good. It's good.
That's bad. The guys are gonna roast me for that.
It shows you're business orientated.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
You're pushing the brand. It's
yeah.
interesting because my friend Danny, who again told me about you first of all, he didn't know who Jamie T was. And driving back after the show, I was like, we were talking about you guys, and I was like, yeah, I get the Jamie T influence, and it was like, yeah, someone else said that, but like he wasn't familiar with who Jamie T is. But I was saying to him is, but there's something very distinctively different from you. It's not like, oh, is that a Jamie T track? It's you do have your own I don't want to say vibe, but delivery to it. It's like a dirtier Jamie T, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a little
yeah,
bit more a street punkier
yeah,
sort of version of that, which I really like because I do like Jamie T and a lot of his stuff. But yeah, maybe because you guys are younger and you're still quite new, but I didn't know any of your tracks, but they're kind of like stuck in my head in terms of like the choruses, and you've got some really really catchy tunes. Do you know what I think from what I've heard of you guys, like you've got some really interesting stuff, that don't sound like anyone else I've like heard in the last like 6 months in terms of just going to music venues and seeing a
sure.
lot of support bands because unfortunately a lot of the time the support band to the band you want to go and see, certainly if it's playing in small venues, aren't always that great. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
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 I think you've already got like your own sound already. So
yeah. I appreciate that. I think that's
yeah,
where some of maybe punk elements might shine through from other members. Like sometimes we'll get into the studio and we'll think, oh, that could sound a bit beefier, or that bit could be a bit dynamically, could be a bit louder or a bit more intense. And we always consider how we're going to play something live. I think a lot of our tracks on record sound a lot different than they do when we perform live. I was very tactical about the word I
yeah,
chose,
sure, sure,
different.
sure. I get that.
But I think we always consider how we want the crowd to react in a live setting, and that's not always sonically translated in the live record.
Yep.
Um, for example, there's a song we have called Pub Watch where we play that live. It's much heavier and a bit faster too. And then the record, it's a little bit more died down. I mean, it's still, I think it's probably one of our heavier tracks, but we just don't put as much beans into it. So, but
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
cool doing that because it gives us a lot of room to play with sonically when we write.
yeah,
Um, 'Cause when I write a song, it's nice to not be stuck in too many boxes, I guess. You
yeah.
just got to be
Sure,
able to.
sure.
I think that a lot of that comes from using different types of instruments. So like a lot of MIDI drums, like electric, like big drums. I just think, oh, that sounds massive and huge and it's cool. And then, you also have the ability to use like raw, drums and distorted, like fast paced punk guitars in some points, and then just like electronic keyboards. But somehow try and stylistically keep it all tightly packaged into
Yeah,
sort of one sound, I guess.
yeah, sure,
Um,
sure.
I still think we're finding our feet with it a bit, I guess. But yeah.
Again, is there any bands? Again, I'm relatively talking about fairly up and coming bands. That've been around same sort of time as you guys that you've seen and you thought, wow, they're doing something really different. And is there any bands or artists that are kind of getting well known now, and you're thinking, why are they kind of blowing up? Because they're just like two dimensional. Because I listen to the radio quite a lot when I'm driving, or whatever, and there's a lot of bands that have been really pushed now from the likes of Krang Radio, Radio X, that sort of stuff, who I just think there's no substance to this band. I go and check them out,
Yeah,
and
sure,
it's all
sure.
very, very similar. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of bands I've seen that we've played with or that I've just seen supporting other bands that I've watched that are up and coming, that where the sound isn't, I don't know, always necessarily new, but I've just been completely blown away by. There was one band in particular that I loved called 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐒𝐈𝐂𝐊, and they've broken up now, I think.
Okay,
Um,
good
one of
name.
the guys a few months ago, so it's not as good, but they were incredible, and I was just blown away, and I was like, shit, these guys should be huge, like surely. Um, in terms of bands that I think have a bit of, I think there's a few bands that like I see playing festivals on like big stages that I just don't get. Um, in terms of like, I think the sound's sort of been done to death a bit, and it just seems a bit vanilla to me. But it's all subjective, I guess. Like,
Sure.
uh, but I mean, I don't want to slag anyone off too much,
Yeah,
but,
yeah, fair enough. You don't have to name them, so. But
but I'll probably do it in a live setting.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's safer, right? Do you again back to the idea of trying to break through and make this something that hopefully you guys literally do to get paid, because I know it's hard for even established artists to make sort of money these days. And there's a lot of talk recently about how streaming sites don't really pay royalties for the artists that are getting listened to, even on the millions of streams, let alone like small people. Do you feel that there is a clear path for a band of your size to keep going up the ladder, getting on festivals, getting on more tours? Or is it just literally you've got to just get out there and do the work and hope you get lucky?
I mean, I think I used to think there was a clear path. These days, I'm not so sure. To be honest, I think you just got to play as much as you can, and you got to
Sure.
play. It sounds so generic. I'm sure so many people have said it, but even if there's one person watching you, you got to act like there's like 10,000 people watching you. And
Yeah.
I think, yeah, you just got to play as much as you can. And when you write songs, try and write something that's like true to you, and don't try and just do what as somebody else has already done.
Yeah.
Again, there are bands that have done that have done fantastic. So what do I know? And
Sure.
yeah, but I think my advice would be to other people and myself, just play as much as you can and play as well as you can when you do. Um, because there's always going to be someone watching somewhere
Yeah.
that knows somebody who knows the guy who used to know a guy who married someone who works in some business that can help you somehow. And
Yeah.
um, yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Be true. Be real, I suppose, is kind of what you're
yeah,
saying. Yeah. I think
yeah.
that's probably
That's where the interesting stuff happens. That's where like the actual cool stuff happens.
yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think is is there any lineup or band that you would love to go and tour with?
We have this conversation a lot, right?
Yeah.
We have this conversation a lot, and I think we all have different answers. One band I would love to play with is Narwhals. Um, they're not currently together. There seems to be a running theme here, but not currently together. But I would love to play a show with them. God, I mean, there's so many options, really, isn't there? I'm trying to just think of bands I love. Obviously, there are like the huge ones like Fontaine's DC or something that I would love. I think they're killing it right now. Um, I'd love to play a show with Pup, Canadian punk band. They're just like a real powerhouse, like force live. Yeah, I'm going to throw those two. I'm going to say Knowles and Pup.
Sure.
I think it would massively show us up in every way possible. So they would make us look terrible, but it would be worth it just to do
You never know. That might not be the case.
it. I appreciate
Do
that. Your
you,
faith.
do you have any more concerts and gigs lined up this year? It's early days. A lot can change, but in the next couple of months.
Yeah. We've got a European tour coming up in April. Um, I think we're going to around the Netherlands, France, and Germany, which will be a
Cool.
lot of fun. We've got a few festivals coming up this year as well. We're doing Boomtown, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm really terrible at keeping track of the dates.
Sure.
I have, I mean, the calendar is just, yeah, it's all over the
As long
place,
as you
to be
know the
honest.
day before, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, just enough time to cancel all your plans and yeah, but we got a few festivals coming up around in the summer, and then we got a lot of stuff planned for the end of the year in terms of UK based stuff.
Okay,
So
that's cool.
we're trying to get something together at the moment. So
Any headline little slots, or is it mainly supporting
I think they're all yeah they should well a big chunk of them will be headline slots. Um,
the
'Cause,
grassroots venues, that kind of thing?
yeah. I don't know if any of them have been announced yet, and I don't know if we're big enough to get into any trouble, but I don't want to run the risk.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. But of
To
course,
be honest, I would probably get the wrong date and the wrong venue.
yeah, yeah, completely opposite of whatever you say.
Yeah, yeah.
But again, because when I put this up, I will put some of your tracks up as well, and hopefully we'll get an idea, flavor of what you're about. And of course, they can find you guys on like Instagram and that the
Yeah.
usual
Yeah.
sort of
I'd
places.
say Instagram's definitely the best place. I think that's because we all run that page. So I think we all run the Facebook as well. Um, but yeah, the usual.
Yeah, no problem. I suppose last question again. Where do you see yourselves in like 10 years? Are you still together? Are you still doing this?
I think that's a really good question. I think Jack, our bass player, will be a gardener. I've got a really good feeling. Put money on that. I don't know if my brother will be alive, to be honest.
I really let's hope so.
Either some sort of natural causes or I'll kill him. I don't know. I'm gonna just go out there and say we're gonna headline Glastonbury. That seems like a safe bet,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, why not? It's something to head towards, right?
Yeah, you gotta have a mountain to walk towards, and
Yeah.
that's pyramid.
The pyramid to walk towards. I mean, hey, there was another band that had two brothers, and they did all right.
Yeah, they
Um,
did.
yeah, on and off, but they're doing all right now, or they will be.
Oh
Uh,
God.
in
I,
the
I mean, I
in
can for that. So
like, are you a fan of Oasis? I never was. I
I
was at
mean,
school when Wonderwall came out, and I just was never interested in them at
uh,
all.
that must have been pretty annoying because I bet that song was hard to escape. But
Yeah, yeah,
I am a fan of Oasis, but I mean, I wouldn't give them the satisfaction now for 500 quid. Like,
yeah.
I don't think I don't think any band really is worth that much money live. Um, don't quote me on that.
Sure, sure. No, but I'm with you. I'm with you. I think it gets to a certain point, it gets a bit ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
Also, I was very disappointed that they after they announced those shows, bear in mind they're going to sell out, and they didn't need to like put on a list of five six other bands supporting them to sell the tickets. They're gonna People were gonna come anyway. They could have put smaller bands supporting them, and
they
yet
could have passed. Yeah,
they could have asked you. But do you know what I mean? Like they could have had anyone on there just to give them that sort of platform at Wembley and all the likes of it, and they
and,
didn't. And this went with really boring bands I didn't even think were still together. Just like
yeah, I totally agree. I think it's kind of one of those things with Oasis where I'm like, God, fucking pricks. But then in the back of my head, it's always like, oh yeah, but I don't know. They're kind of allowed to. Somebody's got to do it. I mean, I don't know. I'm
sure.
always into. I suppose I've got a core love for them, but at the same time, I think it's pretty shit how much they charge for it. And
I think
yeah, I
they should
think
do at least one free show.
yeah, one free show. Or, I don't know. I don't know what the rules are when you're that famous. I guess. But yeah, they
Sure,
could have put. That's a stone cold fact. They could have and they didn't, and I'm never going to forgive them for that. So
sure. I mean, that's not a bad quote to put out there,
yeah, put that one out.
Put that one out. Put it on a t-shirt. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
um, no, cool. Yeah, I just want to thank you for like having a chat. And
Yeah,
again, I'm
thank
gonna like keep posting stuff, what you guys are up to on the Instagram, the Music Dimension One. I just think it's really important to sort of highlight and support new bands, because literally you guys could be in 10 years' time, people headlining Glastonbury, doing big, massive shows.
I,
Um,
pre- I appreciate it though, man. It's
yeah,
been great.
no problem. And again, I just think there's so many really cool bands out there that are relatively new, or at least new to me, even if they've been around like 4 or 5 years. Um, that it feels really exciting. Last year, I went to so many gigs. I think literally every month I went to two or three gigs, and they're all small ones. And I like small venues because you can actually see the band rather than in stadiums that you
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
miles away
It's a
from.
different vibe, isn't it, I suppose.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
absolutely different vibe, but there's no shortage of, I just think, really exciting, cool bands, certainly happening in the UK at the moment. Um,
yeah, yeah. I think that's true. I think that's very true, and I really appreciate you coming to watch our set and having a
no,
chat.
I would love to go and see you again. Hopefully you'll play somewhere in the sort of south of London, Surrey kind of area, because I would definitely go and check you guys out.
Yeah, yeah. We'll shoot you a message. Go for a pint.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be wicked.
hanging.
Cool.
Sweet.
Well, have a fantastic weekend. I should put all your links on this when I put it up, probably sometime over the weekend. And I'll let you know when it's live.
Yeah, sweet man. Much appreciated.
Cool. No problem.